Fort Richardson, Texas. Hello, Jim from RV4x40.com. Welcome to the channel today. We try to give you some tips and tricks on how to RV better and things that we do, and also show you some of the places and sites that we have been able to visit in the last 4 years. We've been traveling full-time in our motorhome. So it's good to have you with us today. And we are back in Texas. We'll be here through much of the winter season because we like the warm weather in Texas versus the cold weather up north. We're at Fort Richardson, Texas, which is near Jacksboro, and it is this Fort Richardson State Historic Park. The fort was originally some 20 miles north of its present location, but that location turned out to be untenable. It did not have a forest nearby. They used cottonwood trees to build much of the facility when it was built. It also didn't have a reliable source of water, so the fort was sited again on a tributary of the Trinity River, small creek actually, but a steady supply of water for those that were here. It originally was 300 acres, and at one point this was actually the largest U.S. Army installation in the country, surprising. There was a series of forts built just after the Civil War to facilitate the westward migration and immigration into this part of the country. This particular chain started at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. Fort Richardson became kind of the anchor point of the entire chain along the northern border and out into West Texas. It extended as far out as Fort Davis and Fort Stockton in the western part of the state. And its primary purpose was to protect the settlers as they came in and occupied the prairie lands from the Kiowa and Comanche Indian tribes that were in the area. And that was its primary purpose. At one point it had 866 men and officers stationed here in a variety of some 55 different buildings. So it was really a very busy place in its heyday. It really didn't last very long. It was decommissioned in 1878 as the territory became settled. One of the things in the area that the fort was kind of central to, there was a wagon train raid north of here by Kiowa and or Comanche Indians. It happened at the time that General Sherman of Civil War fame was actually here at the fort. And he traveled then from here to Fort Sill in Oklahoma, where there were 2 Indian chiefs that were being held. And they were charged with murder and brought back to the Jacksboro area. The significance is this is the first time a Texas civil court was used to prosecute an Indian raid versus Army retribution. So it marked a very significant change in how the Indian situation was being handled in the territory. By 1878, things were under control. There had been a number of patrols sent out from this fort and the other forts in the region to battle Quanah Parker's Comanches and the Kiowa tribes in the area, and they had really been defeated at this point and put on reservations, so the need for the chain of forts pretty well disappeared. The fort was abandoned for a period of time. By the beginning of the World War II era, it was obvious that things were really heating up around the world, and the Texas National Guard needed a spot to train soldiers that in preparation for what would become the war. So the fort was reactivated, I believe, in 1940, and it was occupied then by National Guard, reserve troops, and other Army troops in training until the end of the Second World War, at which time it was again decommissioned. The state was declared a state historical site in 1963 and then put under the management of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department in, I believe, 1967. At that point, restoration began in, I believe, 1968 of the fort buildings, and there was not much left. Today there's a dispensary, there's the bakery, there's the chapel, there's a few other buildings that were remaining of the original 55 buildings. Replicas were built of an enlisted man's barracks and of the officer's barracks, so those sites are here to be seen. Normally there are guided tours and kind of interpretive exhibits you can go see. However, when we were there, these were all closed off due to the restrictions due to COVID-19. So we could look in some windows and see a few things, but really didn't get the full effect of the fort. It's an interesting sight to see. It's significantly smaller than it was in its heyday, and Jacksboro is now right beside the fort. But if you want to find a place to go in North Texas, it's a very interesting site. There is a small fishing pond there. And my family was with us, from the ones that live in Texas. They did do some fishing in the lake, although I don't believe they were terribly successful with what they were trying. So enjoy our visit. We'll show you a few pictures of the site, and then we'll be back. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our brief visit to this fort and historic site. It's part of the history of Texas and something that I would encourage you to go to see if you're in the area. In the meantime, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click on the subscribe button down below. We'd appreciate it if you would do that. And then click on the bell icon. You'll be notified when we publish a new video. In the meantime, as we travel the highways and byways of America, we hope to see you somewhere. If you see us, give us a shout and say hello. And we hope you have a great day traveling wherever you are.